Welcome to World News by Dennis Halandzovskyi. If you value calm, thoughtful, and fact-based global reporting, please subscribe, leave a comment, and share your perspective below. Today's topic focuses on U.S. foreign policy and how recent political warnings from a prominent U.S. senator could influence relations in the Americas and beyond. Senator Marco Rubio, a senior Republican lawmaker known for his focus on U.S. policy toward Latin America, has issued a forceful statement regarding the states of Cuba and Venezuela. Speaking to colleagues and foreign policy observers, Rubio asserted that the United States must take a firmer stance on these governments, framing their influence as threats not just regionally, but with implications for broader Western interests. At the heart of Rubio's argument is the belief that current approaches have failed to produce meaningful political or democratic change in Cuba and Venezuela. Instead, he suggests that economic stagnation, political repression, and influence from foreign powers, notably Russia and China, have strengthened authoritarian holdovers in both countries. Rubio's warning comes at a time when the U.S. foreign policy establishment is already under strain. Competing strategic priorities in Europe, Asia, and the Middle East challenge Washington's capacity to focus attention on the Western Hemisphere. In that context, Rubio argues, the United States cannot afford to retreat from active engagement in Latin America. The senator did not merely offer criticism, he proposed that the U.S. recalibrate its policy toolkit, including stricter enforcement of sanctions, expanded diplomatic pressure, and support for democratic movements within both Cuba and Venezuela. His perspective reflects a broader school of thought in Washington that views regime change, or at least greater pressure, as essential to weakening authoritarian networks and stabilizing the region. The immediate reaction from policy circles was mixed. Some lawmakers welcomed Rubio's stance, seeing it as a necessary reassertion of American leadership. Others expressed concern that an aggressive posture could alienate potential partners and complicate existing multilateral efforts aimed at economic cooperation and conflict reduction. It is also important to situate this debate within a wider geopolitical context. Both Cuba and Venezuela have long been areas of ideological contestation between the United States and governments aligned with other global powers. Rubio's remarks signal not just a critique of Havana and Caracas, but a broader warning that Washington must not cede influence, particularly as other capitals seek footholds in the region. The larger significance of Rubio's remarks lies in how they may shape American foreign policy. Traditionally, the United States has oscillated between engagement and isolation with authoritarian governments in the Western Hemisphere. Policy prescriptions have ranged from lifting sanctions in pursuit of diplomatic openings to imposing strict economic penalties as a form of pressure. Rubio's position clearly aligns with the latter approach. He argues that punitive measures must remain central to U.S. strategy until there is meaningful democratic reform in Cuba and Venezuela. For policymakers, this raises several strategic questions. First, there is the question of effectiveness. Sanctions and diplomatic pressure can exert economic strain on governments, but they also create hardships for ordinary citizens. Critics worry that punitive policies may strengthen internal narratives of nationalism and resistance, bolstering the very regimes they aim to weaken. If sanctions are tightened without clear pathways for engagement, the result could be further entrenchment of authoritarian leadership rather than transformation. Second, there is the matter of alliances. Many Latin American governments, especially those leaning left or pursuing independent foreign policies, view U.S. pressure skeptically. They argue that Washington's interventions often reflect geopolitical competition rather than genuine support for democratic ideals. Rubio's approach may reinforce such perceptions and could complicate efforts to build regional coalitions on issues like economic development, migration, and security. Third, Russia and China stand as important actors in this context. Both countries have deepened economic and political ties with Havana and Caracas. Stronger U.S. action against these governments may intensify competition, drawing the United States into broader rivalries that extend far beyond the region. This raises the question of strategic priorities, whether the United States can balance assertive pressure with diplomatic efforts aimed at reducing tensions. For Ukraine and its allies, watching shifts in U.S. foreign policy matters. A U.S. government focused on revisiting policies in the Western Hemisphere will divide attention and resources at a time when global security commitments, from Europe to the Indo-Pacific, require sustained engagement. Ultimately, Rubio's warning highlights a broader debate about America's role on the global stage. Is the United States best positioned as a force of confrontation, seeking change through pressure and sanctions, or as a mediator, embracing nuanced diplomatic engagement to gradually encourage reform? The answer will not only shape US relations with Cuba and Venezuela, but also define how Washington navigates the complex geopolitical landscape of the 21st century. Thank you for watching this report on World News by Denis Halandzovskyi. If you found this analysis informative, please subscribe, leave a comment, and share your view. Independent reporting and nuanced discussion help us all make sense of shifting global dynamics. Stay aware, stay informed, and see you in the next update.